This segment of the news is brought to you by Smitty's Cards and Coins. Would you like to know what your collectibles are worth? Come by 2281 Postal Road, Unit 4, across from the post office.
Welcome back to News 46. The Board of Trustees for the Nye County School District has decided to shorten classroom time for students by 45 minutes per day beginning in the fall so that teachers and paraprofessionals can collaborate in a process called the Professional Learning Community. In the second of our three-part discussion, we speak to Superintendent Dale Norton about how this affects the school and how the district is implementing the new policy.
What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? What can I do better? Professional learning communities are where the questions to these pertinent questions get answered. A professional learning community is what our district is striving to become.
As we roll this out, yes, we've had schools that have been in collaboration. The problem is, for example, Mance Elementary School students or staff were here last night talking about that. They don't have enough collaboration time, where now we can have that required time at the beginning of school for them to collaborate, and we can hold them accountable for that, as well as our parapros. We bring our parapros, our classroom aides in. We can hold them accountable to training them to say, look, you're working side by side with this teacher, or you're working side by side with this student, and here's what their needs are. Now, this is what you need to do.
So the parapros were a little bit concerned about their hours being cut, but that's not going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen. It was never said from my office that we were cutting parapro hours. That was something that came out of social media, and we want to train our parapros. They're partners in what we do with education for our students. That will only benefit our students if they know more of what they need to do to help students learn. And then we can train them, and we can hold them accountable for what we train them in.
And are the teachers going to be held accountable at the end of this? Are they going to be assessed on what's been going on with the collaboration?
In the new evaluation, what's called the NEPF, the Nevada Education Performance Framework, that is part of that evaluative process. Looking at each of the standards that are there for that evaluation process to say, what's your goal, number one, for your own personal and professional growth, and what kind of growth did your students make? We're 16th out of 17 districts in the graduation rate. Actually, we're 16 out of 16 because the 17th district is Esmeralda County, which goes to our district schools and graduate from our schools. We're last. That's not acceptable. We have to do something. What we're doing right now is not effective. We've got to do something to shift that education, shift the learning of our students. If we can shift what we're doing with our educators to prepare and make sure that they're providing the best education that they can, then our students will only benefit from that. We've worked at this some time ago, even when I was a building principal, but I look back at it and go, we dabbled in it. We were not fully equipped as a district to handle this. A year ago, I presented to the board to talk about building capacity at the district level so that we can support this, because we have to have support. We have to have support, and we have to have buy-in, and then hold people accountable in doing it. That's why I built the capacity to start assessing and training and now hold accountability for it.
How can the parents get involved in this process?
Be connected with their schools, know what's going on in the educational process with their children, go to parent-teacher conferences, talk to their teachers, talk to their administrators. Just get engaged.
Our final segment with Nye County School District Superintendent Dale Norton will be on tomorrow night's broadcast. And if you missed any of these segments, you can find them on KPVM's YouTube channel and our Facebook page.
Angela Miles brings us today's Business First Brief.
Topping our news, Nike is blamed for playing a role in holding down the Dow. Nike shares fell roughly $4 yesterday in its biggest sell-off ever. The sports shoe and apparel company turned in a so-so earnings report this week. EpiPens are being recalled in countries outside of the U.S. There are reports the life-saving allergy shot failed in certain cases, but patients were able to get treatment through an alternative EpiPen. The recall is in Australia, New Zealand, Europe, and Japan. Again, the U.S. is not included in the recall. Starbucks is brewing up 240,000 jobs worldwide in the next few years. The coffee chain plans to hire 25,000 veterans and spouses by 2025 and has already brought on 10,000. And the U.S. just reached a new record of new millionaires. Households with $1 million in assets or more increased by 400,000 last year, according to a report. We hope you were one of them.
County Commissioner Lorinda Wichman explains tax abatements and how they work following a report she felt that needed to be explained.
Mr. Chairman, there was an item in the newspaper recently that reported on AB 43, and I worked closely with Daria trying to answer questions for her. However, in order to understand this, it's an extremely difficult item to understand. Our tax structure in the state is difficult. This has been touted throughout the state as a tax increase to your property taxes, which it's not. I have in my hand my tax bill. In this column, if you'll go home, if you'll take the time and go home and look at the middle column just before it says the tax amount on the end, this middle column is your abated amount of taxes. That means that the state of Nevada did something really smart a few years ago, and they capped all of our taxes so that we cannot be taxed out of our homes when our income starts going down. So we're capped at 3%. That's wonderful for all of us, and I agree with that. But on the other side of that equation is this column of abatements, and that's a discount. So when you're held at 3%, and your taxes are actually more than that, you will see a figure in that abated amount, and that means a discount. Your taxes are discounted. AB 43 language does one thing and one thing only. It says when you're figuring out the abated amount of the taxes that it cannot fall below 3%. That's a negative number. That means in the situation that we had a few years ago, I think about 2 years ago, many of the residents came to me and said, my tax bill has been reduced by 40% in 1 year, and you guys are talking about your budget where you are laying people off, you're getting rid of our subsidies to our senior nutrition, to our animal shelters, and you're cutting my taxes by 40%? And this is a problem throughout the entire state. So the language was very carefully drafted so that all it means is this proposal and this amendment deals only with a percentage of the discount of the abated taxes.
Well, the Nevada Department of Transportation is celebrating 100 years with historical photos and a timeline posted on the department's website, as well as an invitation for Nevadans to share their state transportation memories. The Nevada Department of Highways was formed on March 23, 1917, with a mission to resurface the rutted dirt paths that had served as the road network of the time. Historical Nevada transportation photos, videos, and decade-by-decade history of the progression of state highways are now available at nevadadot.com/100.
All right, and we'll have more local news after this break.